We're ready to start the commission session.
As soon as we get word that we are going to be live on our live streaming, we will go ahead and start. So we'll give that a moment for the technical stuff to be ready to go. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. And I say this every time, but I think it's a good idea because sometimes we have new people, and that is certainly we welcome our guests here, citizens who are here, and they are observing, of course, the COVID-19 protocols, the mask, the social distancing, and the rest of it. So we are also live streaming. That being said, that combined with the masks, I would ask people to identify themselves when they are speaking, because with the mask, it muffles, plus obviously you can't see people's lips moving. So please make sure that you speak clearly into the microphones. The podium over there is for citizen and other people who wish to comment. When you go up to the podium at that point, make sure the little green light at the collar is on so that the mic is on. Identify yourself, and then please make whatever statements you wish to make. With that, we will start with our invocation. Mr. Administrator, if you please.
Pray with me, please. Father, we are grateful for your presence with us today. We're grateful also, Father, for the break in the harsh weather that we've been experiencing of late, and we're also very grateful to those county employees who, throughout that harsh weather, stayed on task and made our efforts manageable as well. Be with us today, Father, as we go about the business of the county, and we pray that we do it with the best interest of the citizens in mind. We ask this in Jesus' blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Here.
That brings us to approval of our agenda. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, and then any additions, deletions, or other alterations to the agenda, if any, would be in order. So is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda for Thursday, February 18th.
Motion's been made for the approval of the agenda. Discussion. Seeing none, we will go ahead. I don't know if we need to go to close.
I close.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. One other note, the Constitution, which we are now working under, allows for the presiding commissioner to vote under specific circumstances. Chief among those is a tie. So I would say to those listening that my not voting on an issue should not be construed as support or non-support of an issue. It's just the way the system is working. So there we are. That brings us to meeting schedule. Mr. Administrator?
The next meeting of the commission is scheduled for this coming Wednesday, February the 24th, in this room at 6 p.m.
Thank you. And just to emphasize, we are looking at doing some of our meetings in the evening, probably alternating them. We're going through this process to see what is most convenient for our citizens and the ability for our staff to be able to do business. So our next meeting is in fact an evening meeting. Honorary resolutions, there are none listed. Public hearings, there are no public hearings listed. That brings us to a commission session. First on our agenda is 2021-47. Mr. Administrator.
Commissioners, 2021-47 is to approve an extension of the CARES Act to allow for being in sync with the fiscal year of the state. I'll defer to the auditor for any further comments.
Mr. Auditor, if you would like to make any comments on this?
Yes, Commissioners. Good morning. Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. This is essentially just making this official and communicating that to our community partners as a formality. So originally, the county got over $29 million from the CARES Act early last year. We provided about $27.5 million to our community partners, such as cities, school districts, health center. The rest was for internal county purposes. With the second stimulus, the federal government extended that CARES Act deadline initially from what was an end date of 12/30/2020 to 12/31/2021. Because we received our money from the state of Missouri, the state of Missouri ultimately made the decision for us of whether we could have that same extension. And the governor of Missouri and legislature approved an extension to 6/30/2021, the end of June, which is in line with the state fiscal year. It was contingent upon adequate reporting back to the state and their accounting firm of BKD, who's auditing the state's use of those funds. Proud to say that the county appropriately reported. We got that extension confirmed by the treasurer of the state of Missouri, treasurer's office. And so what this does is the original resolution we passed of 2021-39 outlined to our community partners in the agreements there of Appendix B that we had the initial end date of 12/30/2020. So we just want to make a formality, make this official that we can let known to our community partners that we are extending their timelines as well as subrecipients from the county to 6/30/2020. And then as the original agreement stated, any unspent funds after that date, we're responsible to return to the Treasury Department. So we would need to recoup that from our partners if they have left any unspent. Of course, these things are subject to change. It could change with any new legislation from the federal government, but that's as it stands currently. I didn't include in my original transmittal or the document you see here, but I just want to give you sort of an update ballpark idea. We essentially have $6.6 million from our community partners left unspent. So that's money we're going to keep tracking, and I want to my office make sure that we keep communicating, working with the administrator as well, that we keep getting those reports monthly and have that up to date and track that. And then the county has some minor amounts as well. So that's basically a synopsis there, and I'll open up to questions.
By the way, just to make sure everybody is aware, those funds are in a segregated account so that they are not commingling. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the remaining county funds are in Fund 219. We create a separate fund for that. Now, the community partners funds, that's within their own, accounts and funds. So currently, that's where that money is. So yes.
Thank you. I believe Commissioner Carpenter has some questions. Please proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Auditor, so you mentioned we've got 6.6 million, our community partners, and is that mostly within municipalities, or is that within organizations as well?
I would say it is mostly our municipalities. 5 roughly of those we initially distributed to. The bulk with Kansas City, 5.3 million. Kearney, 833,000. Clay Como, Excelsior Springs, North Kansas City still have some remaining monies that they receive from the county.
Okay.
And then the health center has a little bit of funds left, 155,000, so.
Very good. And then, so the amount that the county still has, you mentioned it's significantly less, but do you have any?
Yeah, so our current balance is $106,261.52.
I see. And so if we wanted to extend CARES Act dollars, that would be the total that we've got control over right now.
Well, we did that through our 2021 budget as far as what the county has available for use, but this is conveying to our community partners in their respective fiscal years, just so they know. I mean, no one's returned the money to us, because I don't think we've ever really asked for it past the initial end date, but this is just to, make sure we keep getting the reporting and track that to 6/30.
Very good. No, I appreciate the information. One of the things that I'd like the commission to do, or at least consider, is supporting the consortium that's doing the mass vaccination efforts right now here in Clay County. Liberty Hospital, North Kansas City Hospital, the health department, et cetera, are working together to get folks vaccinated. Sounds like we may not have a lot of money left that the county has control over, but I wonder if there could be conversations with, the municipalities and any other organization that has money. That $6.6 million is obviously a pretty good pot of money. And it just seems like the thing to support right now in terms of these CARES Act dollars. Obviously, we've done a lot of different things with CARES Act dollars, but this feels like the most direct and justifiable expense with the dollars. But I appreciate the information, Mr. Otter. Thank you.
Is there a motion related to 2021-47?
I'll make the motion to approve 2021-47.
Motion is made for the approval of 2021-47. Discussion. Something that Commissioner Carpenter brought up, which is something that I'm also aware of, and that is the need for support on the vaccination center, the one that's operating right out of Cerner at this moment. For better or worse, I qualify in the 65 and over category, so I'll be getting my vaccination this afternoon, as a matter of fact. And I encourage people to certainly look into that and make sure that if they care to go down that route, that they do, and encourage them to do so. I think that the idea of taking the money that's left and using it for that purpose is one that, while I would want to hear the argument for it, it's not going to be a very difficult argument for me to be in favor of. My understanding is that there may well be a formal request from that consortium for that money, and they are, I think, coordinating that effort. Beyond that, I don't really know a lot about it, but my understanding is they will be approaching us at some point, and I think that I can't think of quite honestly, I can't think of a better use for it than to actually get vaccinations in people's arms. Commissioner Thompson.
I've got nothing, thanks.
Okay. Is there?
Well, I just want to add that I'm grateful to hear that, and I think I look forward to working with the two of you and our administrator and whoever else to make that happen. Obviously, it's going to be needs-based, so it depends how much money they need. But if they need more than the $100,000 that we've got left, it would, I'd also be interested in exploring whatever options may exist with the other $6.6 million in terms of trying to direct some of that there as well. But obviously, if 100,000 is enough, then that won't be necessary.
I think there is, and again, this kind of falls a little bit out of our direct purview, but it does and it doesn't, and that is I could see a conversation of that nature happening between the consortium and some of the municipalities, and I think it would be a very positive statement to have some of the political subdivisions supportive of this and acting as a group. I think it not only is a good cause, but it does something which I think is important that we begin doing more and more as a county, and that is taking a leadership position, not so much from a command, but from an organizational and a leadership by showing example and direction from the county. And I think we have the opportunity to do that very thing in this case and in other cases.
Good deal. Thank you.
Are there any further comments from the auditor? Is there anyone who would like to comment? Any members of the public or any other persons present who would like to comment on this issue? Seeing none, Commissioner Thompson, I believe it was your motion, so if you would like to close.
I close.
Please call the roll on 2021-47.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes?
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes. That brings us to 2021 Ordinance 7. Mr. Administrator?
Commissioners, 2021 Ordinance 7 is to approve acceptance of MoDOT federal and state assistance from the FAA CARES Act Fund in the amount of $69,000 designated for the airport. I defer to the Deputy Commissioner for Operations for any further comment.
Please proceed.
Good morning, County Commission. Carl Walters with the Highway Department. The CARES Act for this federal money is given to us for any maintenance or any operationals for, I guess it was last year, but it has to be done by March 21st, so we can turn around and receive this money to use for airport operations and maintenance. We'll take the money, turn around and set it aside and see what, since we have a new manager out there, to go over and see what we can use this money for.
Thank you. And just to clarify, these monies, because it's FAA CARES Act money, these are not to be confused with the issue we just spoke of some moments ago. This is a different pot of money.
Exactly, it's a different lot of money.
Wanted to make sure that that was clear for those who are listening and maybe.
That is correct, it's not used, yeah.
Great. Are there any questions before we go for motion? Is there a motion to approve 2021 Ordinance 7?
I move that we approve 2021-07.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2021 Ordinance 7. Discussion? Commissioner Thompson, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't, thank you.
Mr. Administrator, I didn't mean to leave you out of the conversation.
I'm used to it. No, excuse me, I have no comments.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public or any other interested persons? Seeing none, Commissioner Carpenter's motion, if you'd like to make any closing remarks and close,
Thank you. I close.
please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes?
The issue is approved. That brings us to 2021 Ordinance 8. Mr. Administrator?
Commissioners, 2021 Ordinance 8 is to approve Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission supplemental agreement to the airport and an agreement that is in some ways after the fact. I will let the Deputy Commissioner for Transportation speak to that.
My name's Carl Walters with Clay County Highway. This is a CARES Act that was implemented in 2017 of $277,000. It was a 90-10 split. County would be responsible for 10% for the master plan update and the layout of the airport. They're still tweaking it a little bit. It's $13,000. That's the final payment of that funding that we will receive. And then when they get that tweaked, they'll give us a master plan, and hopefully we can have some copies for the commission to also look at as well.
Very good. Are there any questions of the Deputy Administrator? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2021 Ordinance 8?
I'll make the motion to approve 2021 Ordinance 8.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2021 Ordinance 8. Discussion. Commissioner Carpenter?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Administrator?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment or make a question on this particular issue? Seeing none, Commissioner Thompson, it's your motion, so any remarks and close?
I close.
Please call the roll for 2021 Ordinance 8.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Excuse me, Commissioner Carpenter. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes?
The issue passes. That brings us to the end of the commission session. Discussion items, we have no discussion items listed. We are going to then continue on our agenda. We have one more week of going through this rather awkward comments on agenda items, so we will go through that. Are there any comments from the public on items that were on today's agenda? Seeing none. Are there any commissioner comments on items that were on today's agenda? Seeing none. Are there any office holders who would like to comment on items that were on today's agenda? Seeing none. Are there any other agencies who would care to comment on agenda items? Seeing none. That brings us to comments on non-agenda items. We will begin with any comments from the public on non-agenda items, and I see a couple of people making their way, so we will recognize them as they come up to the podium. I'll just go ahead and repeat that certainly make sure that your green light is on the microphone, that you identify yourself, and that you speak clearly given the fact that we have masks that we have to contend with. So please proceed.
Good morning. My name is Jim Oldebecken. I've been a resident of Clay County for 20 years. It has been really a pleasure and a privilege to participate in open government.
Could you go ahead and speak a little bit more? Yeah, there you go. I was
it
having
has-
trouble hearing you.
Yes, thank you. It has been a privilege to participate in open government. I'm grateful. And I do have two very short questions and comments today. The first has to do with, this is a personal thing. This is something related to myself as a citizen in the country, the county in which I live. I read virtually every morning in the news some comment from a political figure of all spectrums. Our democracy is under attack. Our democracy is threatened. Our democracy is under attack. Very short question. Could I hear from each commissioner, what is democracy to you? What is your working definition of democracy?
Sure. I'll go ahead and start. I realize that using the term that we are a democracy is somewhat of a colloquialism, that it's a manner of speech and not literally the truth. The people do not vote on every single item. In my opinion, we are in fact a democratic republic where obviously our leaders are chosen by the democratic process. However, because we delegate those, that makes us a republic. As far as whether or not we are under attack as a democratic republic goes, I see that as a kind of a process. It ebbs and flows, but the surest protection that our democratic republic survives and thrives stands on two very important issues. One is an informed electorate. The citizens take the time and the trouble to understand the best that they can. And secondarily, that those citizens then be active. They participate. They let their views known. I think with those two pillars, that really is our greatest protection to our freedoms and our democratic republic. With that, would one of the other commissioners care to take a shot?
Sure. Thank you, Jim. Good to see you again. Democracy to me is obviously foundationally the people get to make decisions, and we do that through elections, and that's how folks consider it. But in my view, obviously, a lot more than that is required. You have to have a whole set of Western liberal values, in my opinion, things like freedom of speech, things like a independent judiciary, and it requires a whole range of civil liberty protections in order for a democracy to actually be a democracy. Obviously, there are a lot of countries around the world that would claim to be a democracy, but that don't have the corresponding protections in place to actually ensure that they are. And I'm proud to be in a country like this one that is. And I don't know that I would say that democracy is under attack, but I do think that it's an ongoing challenge, and I think it's up to each generation to, keep watering the seeds and make sure that that we stay that way. So,
Commissioner Thompson, would you like to make a comment?
Well, thank you. Jim, I think that's a really great question, and I think Commissioner Carpenter really kind of hit it on the head. Democracy, to me, it is the ability to have a say in your government and having that free speech. And I for one, I feel like we've kind of been, Clay County has been under attack, I feel a little bit over the past few years, and we've all kind of sat in this room and watched where some of our freedoms have been taken away from us just by in this room, but that's why it's important to me to make sure that we are giving those back. Like, you're able to come up here and ask us these questions today and spend time with us and have an opinion in the way our government is being run, because your voice matters. So that's really a big part of it there to me. So I really think they hit the nail on the head with that, so.
By the way, something I would like to add to those comments, at least for my own part of those comments, is a constitution, whether it's our federal, our state, or our county constitution. I think it's important to always keep in mind that this is not a matter of the government granting us those rights. The government does not grant us the right to freedom of speech, to freedom of assembly, to all the other rights enumerated and those unenumerated. It is a contract with the people, and it is a recognition that we have those rights because that is the way God created us. God created us as free. The government is not granting, the government is recognizing, and I think that's a distinction that cannot be made too frequently. So please proceed with your next question.
I'm going to stop there. That was outstanding, and I really appreciate the discussion, and I learned a few things. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, as we are queuing up, I appreciate the fact that we are getting into a pattern now to where the next gentleman who's coming up did the social distancing from the gentleman speaking. So certainly we appreciate those here in attendance who are observing the health center guidelines to keep us all healthy. With that, please proceed.
My name is Bobby Oakes from Gladstone. Clay County in the USA is a Christian nation. Our government is actually based on godly principles that are found in the Bible. I realize that our American way of government was never meant to be a government run by a religion as a theocracy. And our forefathers escaped from foreign governments that did interfere with the free religious worship and were determined not to repeat it in America, and handed us the responsibility to uphold their founding principles. And at the same time, our democratic republic must have a set of moral laws, and our U.S., Missouri, and Clay County laws are primarily based upon the Word of God, the Bible. Many have stated that there must be a separation or a wall separating religion and government. The true intent of our forefathers, and even Thomas Jefferson himself, who is often terribly misquoted, makes it clear that we do not want a government dictating our expression of religion. The First Amendment to our Constitution was never meant to keep the principles of moral religious understanding, regardless of the denomination or religion, from affecting our society. In fact, biblical values were encouraged by our forefathers to the people of America. The key is to follow sound moral values, and these values are found in the Bible, and our forefathers attested to that. Again, our First Amendment is for a private citizen or employee of the government itself cannot be infringed upon. The so-called wall is not an enormous gulf between the two, but really a one-way wall, or door, if you will, that only swings one way. The morality of religion can and should affect our government and society, and can flow from religion into government. But there is not an allowable flow from government back into religion. Thus, the wall is a one-way door, not a crater between the two. It is open from religion to government and slammed shut between government and religion. 55 forefathers drafted our U.S. Constitution. 90 more took part in the framing of the Bill of Rights, and all believed in God. Many were Christians of different denominations, and even Ben Franklin, who probably attended church the least of all, urged our founding fathers to pray to God for guidance and to adhere to godly principles as this nation was founded and laws were established. States such as Missouri did the same. In recent times, it has been said that we, the people of America, are not a Christian nation. And today, I stand here proclaiming that this nation, this state, this county has the heritage of Christianity, and we are a Christian nation, from Washington, D.C., to all of our cities and townships in Clay County. By saying that, I would encourage this commission and the government of Clay County to enact a declaration, a resolution, if you will, that we are a Christian county, and that this body and all county employees would follow the truth that lies within our Christian heritage. Will you, Jerry Nolte? Will you, Megan Thompson? Will you, John Carpenter, perform your duties with truth and justice and proudly declare that Clay County is a Christian county? What say you, Jerry Nolte?
I would say that my religion, which is obviously Christian, I'm Catholic, I'll just put it that way, informs my decisions on how I go forward. It doesn't dictate it, but it certainly gives me the moral base, which I think is required beyond just the straight, what is good and what is not good mechanically, but also to give you a moral bedrock. As far as declaring this a Christian county, quite honestly, I have relatives who are not Christians, but they do have other religious faith. I would be reluctant to exclude anyone. I think we are much better served by all of us thinking in terms of God having an active part in our lives, whether we see that through a Christian or a Catholic prism is I think, a personal belief, but I think as I've gone through some of the trials and tribulations through my life that others have gone through, I have a hard time understanding how anybody without a religious faith could, in fact, endure those times. They seem to. But I would have some concern with the exclusion because I think that runs contrary to our freedom of religion. Those who have faiths other than the Christian faith, and in fact I've been told by some that Catholics are not Christians. I think we get into deep waters here. I think what we need to do is to provide the broadest possible ability for people to exercise their conscience the way they should. So while I believe that we are, in fact, I think of myself as religious, I think we may well delve into the establishment of a religion if we go that direction, but that would be something I would listen to the argument, and I would like to hear counsel before we got too deep into it. Obviously, I would not ask counsel to weigh in right now because I think this requires some thought. But my concern would be that we exclude those people of deep religious faith who may not either self-define as Christian or may not be defined as Christian by others. As I say, being a Catholic, I have been defined as not being Christian, and I would not care to put that burden on others. I resented it, and I would not care to put that burden on others.
Jerry Nolte, you are a true politician.
I don't know that that's a particular compliment.
The Bible says, let your yea be yea and your no be no. I asked you a simple question, and you gave me a nice political...
Okay, well, I'll give you an answer right now. No. No. If you're going to pin me down, no, because I will not exclude people of good faith and religion who do not happen to believe as I believe from being part of this government.
You have started a debate here because earlier on you said you were all in favor of a democratic republic that was founded in the Christian faith and belief in God, and now you simply said the opposite. So you say one thing to suit one answer and another, and that's fine. So Megan, what do you say? Would you declare that Clay County is a Christian county?
Now, Mr. Oaks,
By majority at least?
I am a Christian, my personal beliefs, I am. And I'm also a commissioner, and that means I represent everybody in our county. That's my job. The great thing about America is that we have many different forms of religion, and people get to choose what they decide that they get to believe in. So I can't exclude others from their beliefs. But I personally am a Christian.
Okay, John?
Good morning, Mr. Oakes. It's good to see you, and I appreciate your view on this. It's a definite no for me.
By the way, something I want to comment on, because I think this is an important thing to point out, and that is, by and large, these comments are meant for political issues, but I am very happy, in fact, to hear both the previous speaker and yourself talk along the lines of the philosophical of it. While we may or may not agree, I absolutely believe that the broadest possible latitude be given to citizens who speak. And it's not necessary that you come up here when you're making your comments and say, I am in favor of X or Y policy. I think while some may not agree, I think having a discussion of this sort, I think, is productive, because this enhances the communication between the citizens and their elected officials. So I appreciate you bringing up this subject, not because it necessarily impinges on a particular issue that we are dealing with in a specific manner, but I think that in finding what your elected officials philosophically believe, I think helps to give citizens a better opportunity to interact with them. So I want to thank you for bringing this discussion up and airing these points of view, because I think it's important that people understand not just the mechanics of their elected officials, but to understand the thoughts and the hearts of their elected officials.
Okay, in summary, the purpose is to have you all vote truthfully, run an honest organization, that you follow morality laws, that this country, you say you are in favor of a democratic republic. Our forefathers declared this nation to be a Christian nation. They did not shut out other religions. We believed in God and so forth and so on. And so that is the point. If you say that you don't believe we're a Christian county, I have doubt if you're going to follow the laws of God in your ruling. And that's what I'm encouraging you to follow the morality of religion, whether it be whatever religion.
Well, I appreciate that, and I would just point out that certainly in our religious tradition, in our Christian religious tradition, I think it is a bedrock concept that you will know people not by their words but by their actions. So I hope that we in public life will live up to a positive judgment by our actions and our words in addition. But I didn't mean to interrupt. Please go ahead.
And that's the point, and you'll see more of me. All right, I have another point, a different subject. And my second point is I'd like to make a suggestion in regards to these commission meeting schedules. I didn't realize that this live attendance was going to be here today until Jim happened to let me know last night. We have an IT staff that we spend a lot of money on, right? Very easy for them to set up a mass emailing of the schedule to let anyone who wants to sign up and give their email to get that information to the public. Whenever I ask about meetings and different things, they tell me, oh, just drive to Liberty, walk up to the second floor, and look at the bulletin board that's posted. That's good for 1,800. That's not, we have an IT staff that can do that relatively easy. And I would hopefully that you would make a resolution that you would start doing that and have the IT staff gather, the email, have people send their email in and do that.
I appreciate that, and I want to commend it. By the way, I'm glad you brought that up. I do want to commend our IT staff. especially if they're getting a good close-up picture of me at this moment. No, I'm kidding. But no, we have made very great strides, I think, recently in opening this process up. And as we go forward, those folks in IT and other departments are making more and more efforts to open it up more and more. Our concern is to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves, that we continue the process of opening up and not end up having getting ahead of ourselves and not being able to deliver on promises. We do, of course, post it online. I'm a little bit, as far as email blasts go, I'm not sure what just as someone who would self-define as conservative, I wonder about government having email lists of citizens. I worry about citizen lists a little bit, but we are going to do our best to start making sure that we get the word out as much as possible.
Yeah, strictly voluntary.
Oh, and by the way, we do have, the notice goes out on the website. So I hope as we go forward, also the more that we have these meetings, word of mouth will also, I think, help to kind of push that along. Did anyone else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hog the mic. Did anyone else have any comments they would like to make on that particular subject? Mr. Administrator?
I'm going to add to this, and I'm going to admit right now, I'm not sure I can give detailed specifics, but there's an opportunity right now for the public to sign up for text alerts from the county. We've generally related that to bad, harsh weather and closures and things. I don't think it would be difficult at all for people that are signed up for text alerts to also be able to get notification of commission meetings. I think that would be a pretty easy thing to do if we don't already do it. I don't know that we announce commission meetings through text alerts, but I'm sure we can. And we'll talk about that internally and see if we can do that very soon.
I want to make sure that we have the technical ducks in a row, so to speak. And I do have a lot more comfort in the government having voluntary lists that people sign up for. I guess I'm a bit more of a conservative in that way, that it concerns me. But yes, we do need to keep citizens informed, and I appreciate you mentioning that. And by mentioning it now, of course, it's going through the system, so we appreciate you raising that issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who would like to make comment on non-agenda items at this time? Seeing none, thank you for those members of the public who did make their voices heard. That brings us to commissioner comments on non-agenda items. Commissioner Thompson, did you have anything that you would like to raise?
I don't, thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter? Something that I would like to mention as a way of heads up, and one of the things I like about the opportunity that we have now to make comments on non-agenda items is the possibility of raising issues that could be coming up and giving more notice, not just to commissioners and other governmental officials, but also to the public. Many of you may or may not know that we are into the bicentennial year of not only this state, but also of this county. Some of our surrounding communities, like the City of Liberty, is also involved in their bicentennials. What I would like to do would be to recommend to the administrator that we put the formation of a bicentennial commission for Clay County on for discussion next week, so that we, as a commission, can talk about the makeup and the mission of that commission, to be followed hopefully in the month of March by actually commissioning that group and giving them their marching orders, and that would give us a chance also to review possible persons who would be interested in participating. With that, I don't know that there's any other comment that I have. But if that sounds, if that's acceptable to commissioners, I'd certainly like to make sure that we all have the time to weigh in, and that the public be able to weigh in as well. That brings us to office holder comments. Are there any office holders who would care to comment on issues not on today's agenda?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Sandy Baldwin, Clay County Clerk. I don't know how many people watch this Channel 41 News, but on Wednesday night they did a really good article on Will Aiken. And he talked about his past, where he came from, how they lived in a car for 2 years. And he spoke quite long about where he came from and where he got to. And you talk about a role model for young people, or anybody of any age. We are so lucky to have the people that are in our government today. Not only will we have good commissioners, we have a good administrator, we have a good legal team. I can only see us go further and better every day. But this article about Will Aiken, if you all have a chance, you can go on Channel 41 and read the article and listen to what he says and know how lucky we are that the people this time got out and really voted the way they should have voted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We all share an admiration for our sheriff. Are there any other office holders who would care to comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Are there any agencies that would care to comment on any non-agenda items? Very well. Seeing none. That brings us to approval of the minutes of previous sessions. We have one on the agenda. Mr. Administrator.
Commissioners, the approval of the minutes of previous sessions relates to the minutes for the meeting of January 21st, 2021.
Thank you. This is a 9-page document, so it is rather extensive. Commissioners have been given this copy in advance, so they've had a chance to look at it. I will pause for a moment and allow any last-minute review before going for a vote. If there is a motion for the approval of the minutes from the January 21, 21, too many 20s. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 21, 2021, 1 p.m. I think I'd get it all out.
So moved.
Motion has been made for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. With that, is there any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes?
That brings us to written reports. Are there any written reports to be submitted to the commission at this time?
We really have no new written reports, but in front of you, you will see the original documents from the outside audit. I laid in front of each of you, so.
We did. We have received, these are, I'll tell you what, Mr. Auditor, would you like to comment on these, or is that something that? We have received these written reports, and I will let the auditor, who has done a great job on walking back some of the, what I believe were missteps in previous years, and I believe we are at a point now to where we are once again on the right path, but I will let the auditor make his comments on that if he would like to.
Sure, yeah. Clerk Baldwin had a good summary there. These are just the bound physical copies that our outside auditors, you should have received electronic copies, right, so far. And we've gotten them submitted to the federal government to post, so now anyone who wants to go see them can go see them there on what's called the Harvester database. So yeah, no, we'll be starting, we're working on the 2020 financial statements and outside audit as we speak. So that's all this is. So thank you, Clerk Baldwin, for answering that.
By the way, the website, where if citizens would care to view this, I think you said they would be online. What would be the location for citizens? Do we know?
Well, I did, after approval, I have placed it on county website on under the auditor department. There's a drop down, a place to view it there. We can work to put it elsewhere if necessary, like on the transparency portal, we could work on that.
So right now you would go to claycountymo.gov. On the drop-down menu under, I think, office holders or departments, that you would go down to the auditor, you'd accent that, and then there would be a link there for citizens who would care to review the public documents here.
Yes, it's available there. Yep.
And just for clarification, every political subdivision is required annually to have an outside audit done. We unfortunately had some issues crop up in some of our past years, 2018 and 2019. This, if I understand correctly, resolves those deficiencies and allows us to once again qualify for grants that require that outside audit. Is that a fair characterization?
That sounds accurate. Yeah, we're back on track with this. So, yep.
And the process we are in right now is to do our 2020 outside audit, which has just commenced, and that usually ends in late May, in June, is when that report is generated?
Yes, we'll want it done by end of June. Outside auditors will usually, in a typical year, will do field work sometime early spring, and then it needs to be sent to the federal government by the end of September because we're on a calendar year, fiscal year. So yeah, we're working on that as we speak, getting that ready, prepared for them, so they can come in and do their part. So that's where we're at now, and yeah, we'll be back on a normal pattern.
Well, thank you very much. I think we all owe a debt of gratitude towards the auditor's office for righting some of these deficiencies that have cropped up over current years and put us back on the straight and narrow. Were there any other comments from other commissioners? The auditor, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Auditor. Are there any other written reports to come before the commission? Seeing none. That brings us to executive sessions. We are noticed up under legal, Missouri Statute 610.021, parentheses 1. With that, I would entertain a motion for us to adjourn into to go into executive session and adjourn therefrom. Is there a motion related to that?
Mr. Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Would it be out of order for me to make a couple of introductions before we adjourn?
Yeah, I will go ahead and pull back on that. And yeah, if you want to go ahead. By the way, something that we're going to be having in the near future is on our agenda is a particular spot for administrator comments. So you will have a place, but up until then, yeah, please just go ahead and take this moment.
Well, I would like to just do this, but I'm happy to announce, I'm very pleased to announce that I believe our senior leadership administratively is largely in place at this point, and we're fortunate to have those individuals in the room today, and I would like to introduce them if I might. I'd like
Please do.
to introduce the Deputy Administrator for Facilities. That would be Donna Kuntz. They're in the back of the room. The Deputy Administrator for Operations, Carl Walters, also in the back of the room. And our Director of Information Technology, Kevin Shaw, in the back of the room. That makes up the senior leadership for the administration, and I'm very pleased to have those people on board, and I expect and anticipate great things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to say that I think you've made some very good choices, and that I believe that you have not only made good choices, but you have done a good job of consulting with commission, and so we are all very much in agreement with the direction we're going, and we appreciate your leadership in this matter. Any other comments from the other commissioners? Very well. We will go back to the, and by the way, welcome to the new deputy administrators. I didn't mean to brush over that. Is there a motion related to executive sessions?
Yeah, I'll move that we go into executive session.
Motion has been made that we go into executive session and adjourn therefrom. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes?
Motion passes. We go into executive session. Thank you for attending.